I just gotta say, this was a weird episode of Dragon Ball Super. How's it going, guys? This is my review of episode 8 of Dragon Ball Super. Now, I gotta say this is a weird episode because out of the 8 that we've gotten so far, I have to say that this is the weirdest just because of what happened within this episode. There are 3 main parts, but there's one thing I want to get out of the way first is like, yes, the Pilaf gang does show up in here. You know, they're trying to make them comic relief in a way, but you know, they're on a lifeboat, they're rowing away from the ship, and basically they have to end up going back because they actually forgot to load on the food that they ended up packing up for their long journey. So they end up yelling at each other and eventually they're going to go back to the cruise ship. So that just ends the Pilaf bit right there. And I mean, it's either hit or miss. I mean, I understand why they're putting him back in here. It's that nostalgic of Dragon Ball. But honestly, I think that like they're really not needed within this episode, or at least within Dragon Ball Super for that matter so far. But there are 3 main parts within this episode. We have the Vegeta versus Beerus part, and then we have Oolong trying to basically be the savior of the world in a rock, paper, scissors match with Beerus, and then Goku shows up near the end. So the first part I gotta talk about is the Vegeta versus Beerus, because that was built up the hype was there at the end of episode 7 with Vegeta powering up after Beerus pimp slapped Bulma out of the way, and you know, Vegeta powered up, and this time he looked like he was about to go in on Beerus, and we do get that in this episode, but it feels very anticlimactic just because it feels like it didn't really do anything. The fight wasn't all that impressive, honestly. Like, the animation and stuff wasn't all there, but he did get a few hits in. That's one thing that Vegeta was able to do that Goku was not able to do. He actually was able to hit Beerus, and you could actually say that him being in Super Saiyan 2 and this rage that it overcame Vegeta from seeing his wife getting hit, he was actually stronger than Goku was back in episode 5 when he had to go all the way to Super Saiyan 3 and he still couldn't even hit Beerus. So Vegeta does get some points in that department, and I did like the callback of actually seeing the Gallic gun being used by Vegeta, because honestly, I don't think the Gallic gun has been used within the series since the Saiyan saga back in Dragon Ball Z when Vegeta and Goku had that beam struggle going back and forth. I think that was probably the last time Gallic gun was seen within the series, so that's a nice callback within this series, but overall, I think it was still very anticlimactic overall, the battle, but it was a nice note to note that Beerus said he used 10% of his power right here. So Vegeta powered up so much that Beerus, out of a long time of fighting other people, actually had to go to use 10% of his power. So it just shows that Vegeta was more of a threat than Goku, but still only 10% of what Beerus overall is capable of doing. So then Beerus goes, he's thinking about destroying the planet, but then he ends up thinking, it's like, wait a minute, the food here is pretty good. So he ends up trying not to destroy it, and Bulma talks him out of it for right now. But then we get this really weird section. I was not expecting this at all within this episode. We actually get Oolong getting some like star power within this episode, because not only do like Beerus call him out and saying like, you pigman, you over there, you look a lot like Boo, and Oolong's like, no, I'm just pink and chubby. That's the only way you can compare the two. And he calls him up on stage and he challenges him to rock, paper, scissors, and basically saying if Oolong wins, he won't destroy the Earth, which I'm like, this is ridiculous and absurd, and I can't believe that the fate of the Earth is relying not on, you know, fighting, but it's relying on another sort of fist, you know, rock, paper, scissors. I'm like, what is going on in this episode? I would never have pictured in a million years that Oolong would have actually had a chance to save the Earth from a god of destruction. So they end up doing rock, paper, scissors, and, you know, they end up going 2 times tying with scissors, and then the final time, you know, Beerus does this weird thing with his hands, and so does Oolong. I have no idea what was going on there, but then Oolong basically says like, oh, I'm gonna win this time. He ends up not winning, and he ends up, you know, doing scissors a 3rd time while Beerus goes to rock, and, you know, Poir comes over and starts yelling at Oolong because he's being an idiot. It's like, why would you do scissors 3 times in a row? So we end up getting that. So then it's at that moment that Beerus realizes that he won, and he goes on to basically up into the stratosphere with Whis, and he's like, all right, I'm going to destroy the planet right here. And right before he's about to do that, it's a very long sequence and dragged out, and it made me kind of think back to episode 1 when Beerus was on that other home world, or that other planet, to where he basically just tapped his finger immediately and destroyed half a planet. And yet when it comes to this episode, it dragged on for so long when he was like up in the sky, like getting ready to destroy the planet. I don't know why it took him so long, you know, it's just to build the tension. But then we had Goku show up out of nowhere, and he ends up coming down and he dissolves the situation situation by begging Lord Beerus to not destroy the Earth because he has a plan on how to find out about this Super Saiyan God. And he ends up saying that, like, why don't we ask Shenron about it? So that's where we leave off with this episode with Goku coming up with a plan to gather all the Dragon Balls, which have already been gathered on the cruise ship. And I like how Goku knew that Trunks and Goten already knew that they found the Dragon Balls. So it just shows how up to date Goku was. And even Vegeta's like, Goku, how long have you been on the side watching this unfold? Because he knew about everything that was going on. And even like Goku's smiling and chuckling at that. He's still a kid at heart. He's very naive, but he's just very childlike. And I love that about his character. But next episode, it looks like we're getting Shenron. He's going to be summoned, and they're going to be asking him to bring forth a Super Saiyan God, and we're going to find out more about what a Super Saiyan God is, and whether or not this will appease Lord Beerus into not destroying planet Earth. But like I said, this was a very weird episode. Never would I have expected Oolong to actually have the potential to save the Earth, let alone with a rock, paper, scissors match. So I want to hear from you guys. Leave down in the comments below your thoughts on this episode of Dragon Ball Super. What did you guys think of Oolong versus Beerus in that rock, paper, scissors match? What did you guys think of the Vegeta versus Beerus fight? What did you guys think of that overall? And let me know your thoughts on the episode in general. So, and if you guys are catching me for the first time, you can subscribe to my channel because I'm going to be doing all English dub reviews of Dragon Ball Super, and I'm really looking forward to next week. So until next week, and until my next review of Dragon Ball Super comes out, I'll talk with you guys later. Stay awesome. See you guys later.